All right. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to try to go through the first part of this so that we can get into the second part of this. Normally, they would call this Shabbat Rosh Hashanah. Okay. And I'd probably get in trouble for what I'm about to say, but I'll go ahead and say it. There is no Rosh Hashanah in the Torah. Okay. The festival of Rosh Hashanah is a Talmudic festival. Okay. Rosh Hashanah means the first of the year. So what do they celebrate? We celebrate, oh, it's the Jewish New Year, and we blow the trumpets, and everybody eats apples with honey and whatever they eat for that holiday. The holiday that we are actually going to consider tonight, what we should call tonight, is Shabbat Yom Teruah. And Yom Teruah is mentioned in a very, very minor place in the Torah. If you read too fast, you'll miss it. And it's also known, it's also called the unknown day. Okay, we talked about this, and it becomes a very, very, very important thing. Before we talk about Yom Teruah, and some of you got this a little bit of this on Tuesday, so we're going to talk about some of the questions. One question that was asked on Tuesday is, well, if we're supposed to be Torah observant and we're supposed to keep Passover, then why don't we go through the motions and get the lamb and keep the lamb in our house and then kill the lamb and do all this other stuff? And we would take that question along with, okay, well, if we're going to be Torah observant, why don't we have the Azazel? Why don't we get 2 goats and kill one for the atonement of sin and send the other one off to Deep Elam to be lost? So, well, no, eventually it would be. Anyway, so the first question then, in order to answer these questions, first question is, what is the purpose of the Tanakh? And the second question that follows that up is, how does it relate to Brit Hadashah? Now we have 2 points of view that we have to consider. We have to understand both points of view. We have a mechanical point of view, and we have a spiritual, instructional point of view. Both of them are important, because if we understand the instructional point of view, we understand how we are, or what shape we're in the spiritual point of view. So, mechanical point of view. The Tanakh, through the history of Israel, through the prophets, through the writings, points us to Yahusha, who is our kinsman redeemer. Okay? Now, I'm not going to say he's our redeemer. Everybody says, kinsman redeemer. He's the family that can bail us out of jail. Okay? He's that good brother that, you know. But when we go back to Torah, we read that Elohim says, I am Yahuwah, and I alone can redeem you. So the redemption comes from Yahuwah. But Yahusha is the reason that we can be redeemed, and I'll talk about that in a second. Okay? So specifically, in the history line, we have the history of Israel. We have the separation of Israel, and now we need the redemption of Israel. Okay? So, in other words, Yahusha is the redemption of these 2 kingdoms to bring them back together, to restore the Prince of Elohim. Okay? Israel belongs to Yahuwah Elohim. Okay? They are Israel. They are Sarel. They are the Prince of Elohim. If we look at Isaiah 43:1, we kind of pick up on this a little bit. It says, but now thus says Yahuwah, that created you, O Yaakov, okay, and he that formed you, O Israel. He created Yaakov, but he formed Israel. He gave us our free will for us to supplant anything that we want to supplant. but he formed the truth for us to have the Prince of Elohim. For us to be the Prince of Elohim, we were specifically formed to be that. But listen to what it says. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Okay? If he has redeemed Israel, that in Isaiah they're in pieces, if he redeems Israel and calls them by their name, he's not calling them Yaakov. He's not calling them two kingdoms. He's calling them one kingdom. Okay? Yahusha came to restore the kingdoms. Yahuwah made that redemption possible through Yahusha. Okay? Only through the truth, power, and the ability of Yahuwah Elohim could a kinsman redeemer be raised up with the full authority of the Father according to his Torah to bring redemption to the children of Israel. Okay? Which brings us to Passover. All right, so Passover, we have that question. Well, if we're supposed to be Torah observant, then we should get a lamb, an unblemished lamb, and keep it in our house, get it on our house the 10th day, and on the 14th day, we need to kill it, and this and that. But if our neighbors next door can't afford a lamb, we bring them over to our house. Or if I can't afford a lamb, I go to my neighbor's house. Very important in that, okay? Because everyone is going to be redeemed by the lamb. All right? So let's consider why we don't need to go out and get a lamb and kill the lamb on the 14th day. Okay? It's a Levitical ruling now. The Levite, the Levitical high priest, examines the lamb. If it's good, then they set it up for the sacrifice, and he waves his little finger and throws his magic water, whatever the Talmud says that he has to do. But whatever, the high priest has to examine the lamb to make sure it's okay. Then it's sacrificed. Okay? Then whatever is done through that to bring them out of Egypt is accomplished. Now, it tells us in Shemot that on the 10th day, you will bring a lamb into your house. Okay? So let's take a look at John 1:29 and whatever that other one is, 36. Oh, good. I went all the way to Matthew. John, that's Paul. Okay, here's George and Ringo. All right. John. Now, Yochanan the Immerser, John the Baptist, apparently is very aware because he has a very special connection with Yahuwah Elohim. Yochanan the Immerser, after his father Zechariah dies, becomes the legitimate high priest of Israel. Okay? John is the legitimate high priest now. After him would be Joseph, and then after him would be Yahusha. Now we have to assume that Joseph has passed away, so now we have John and Yahusha, okay? But look what John says. The next day John saw Yahusha coming towards him and said, "Behold the Lamb of Elohim, which takes away the sin of the world." Okay? And then in 36 he repeats it, and looking upon Yahusha as he walked, he said, "Behold the Lamb of Elohim." What does that tell us in the context of Yochanan the Immerser being the high priest and seeing Yahusha and saying that Yahusha is the high priest? What do we see in the context of what we've just discussed? That the high priest has to approve the lamb before its slaughter. Okay? The high priest has just approved the Lamb of Elohim for the slaughter. Okay? First thing. Now, John 1:27. John 1:27 is a very, very interesting verse. We'll do John 27, then we'll take a look at this. John 27 tells us this. And this is John saying, "There's one that's coming after me. Well, somebody stands among you," as 26 says. It is he who's coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoe latchet I am not worthy to unloose. In other words, I am not worthy to take his shoe. What does that mean? Okay. We have a law of first mention of this in the Torah in Bereshit, that if I am not willing to redeem you, I have to take my shoe off and give it to you. Okay? That's in the Torah. John is saying someone is coming who is preferred over me. Okay? In other words, yes, I'm the high priest, but there is a high priesthood, if I can say priesthood, that is coming, that is above the Levitical priesthood. And I cannot redeem you. Only this can redeem you. Okay? So now we've seen Yahusha. All right? Let's take a look at the 10th day. On the 10th day, you bring a lamb into your house. Okay? On the 14th day, you kill the lamb. Yahuwah said, I am Yahuwah. I alone redeem. If Yahuwah is the only one that can redeem us, then he has to provide a means for that redemption to take place. And this is part of the conversation that what Lorene brought up last week, in that Yahusha had to be, this is why it was important that Yahusha was the son of Elohim. Okay? And I said, being the son of Elohim, it's no real big deal. In the context of the whole thing, we're all children of Elohim. But Yahusha being the son of Elohim becomes an important thing, because he represents the house of Elohim, full of grace and truth. He's full of the favor of the Father, the truth of the Father, and the power of the Father. Okay? Yahusha comes with the power of the realm of Elohim. He comes with the power of the heavens. Okay? So 10 is the Yod, the truth, power, and the ability of Yahuwah Elohim. Well, that has to be placed into a house in order for it to bring redemption. John tells us that the Word was made flesh and built his tabernacle among us. So that part of Yahuwah Elohim has to take form in a household. But we also read that he is the son of Adam. That's also important. Because if you're going to restore a covenant that was made, you have to have both parties. So he also has to represent Adam. Okay? We'll come back to that in just a second. Okay, so we have the power of Yahuwah Elohim now to bring redemption is placed within a vessel. And on the 14th day, that vessel is put to death. Why is the 14th day so important then? Because we have the letter Nun that says, is a representation of life. The Proto-Hebrew of Nun is the continuance of life. And if we understand now John 3:16, for Elohim loved the world in such a way that he sent his only uniquely begotten Son. It's uniquely begotten, because we leave those words out because we don't translate them. Uniquely begotten in that he represented the Father, he represented fully the realm of Elohim, and he represented fully the realm of the Adam. He was conceived of the Spirit in a fleshly mother. Both things came together, and what came forth was Yahusha. Okay? His only uniquely begotten Son, that whoever would believe on him would what? Have eternal life. Live. Have a continuance of life. Okay? So, if Yahuwah Elohim has provided, and John the Baptist has confirmed that Yahuwah has provided a lamb that will take away the sin of the world. If Yahuwah provides a lamb, then what kind of lamb can I provide to follow that up with? I cannot, because Yahuwah provided the redemption in Yahusha for us. It's the same thing with the Azazel. Okay? You have one goat that the Kohen Hagadol places his hands on the goat, and he transfers all the sin for the people on the goat, and they send it off to the wilderness, and then they kill a goat to atone for the people. They have to do this every year. But when Abraham takes Isaac to offer him up at Moriah, Isaac says, we have the wood, we have the fire, where's the lamb? Abraham, the exalted father, tells Yitzhak, Yahuwah Elohim will provide the lamb. Okay? So, Yahuwah Elohim provides the lamb to redeem us from sin, not simply to make atonement for sin. Okay? So, Yahusha's death becomes a redemption of sin, and our sins are forgotten. What's in the past is left in the past. Unless I refuse to believe and receive the word of Elohim. Unless I refuse to accept the redemption given by Yahuwah. I don't have to accept what my Elohim gives me. Okay? I don't have to accept redemption. I can live perfectly fine just as I am and be totally oblivious to the fact that the door is closing and I'm stuck outside. And this is what brings us to the importance of this particular festival. It's called Yom Teruah. Rosh Hashanah is a Talmudic thing. Okay? Now, the festivals would begin with a blast of the shofar, except for one. Yom Kippur would end with a blast of the shofar to tell them that your atonement is coming to an end. You better get everything in order before the shofar blows, because if you don't, then, well, it's too late. You have to wait till next year. Okay? So what we have now is, I skipped something, but let me do that real quick. So Yahusha goes to Yochanan the Immerser. Okay? Yeah, it's in there somewhere. One of those. I think it's Matthew 3:14. Goes to Yochanan the Immerser and says, okay, I want a mikvah. I want you to oversee it. And Yochanan says, hold the phone, Sparky. That's the updated King James Version. It says, I need for you to oversee my mikvah. I can't mikvah you. Why does John say that? Well, he just said, I can't take your shoe. Yep. I can't take your shoe and I can't mikvah you. Oh, it's a rap song. Anyway, why? Then Yahusha says something really interesting. He says, suffer it now. For now, you have to mikvah me so that we can fulfill all truth. Why? Because Yohanan the Immerser is the outgoing Levitical priest. Yahusha, up until his death, is the incoming high priest. He must be washed by the current high priest in order for him to be able to take the priesthood. Now, something's going to change that allows John 3:16 to really be fulfilled and allows the second part of the Lamb to really come into fruition, is that he, Yahusha now, after the death of John, is the only one that can offer up the Lamb. Okay? He is now the high priest. He's the only one that can offer the Lamb up for sacrifice on Passover. So as high priest, he offers himself up as the Lamb. He dies, and the last remaining Levitical high priest also dies. which restores the priesthood of Melchizedek. We read this in Paul's writings, especially to the Hebrews. Okay? The priesthood of Melchizedek is now restored. There is a means to receive forgiveness by and through Yahusha for going off course. But it still requires us to be aware. Okay? Something else that dies is that Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone is king. The last remaining king, legitimate flesh and blood king of Israel, also dies, because Yahusha, in that genealogy in Matthew, if we read it correctly, and we have Joseph, the father of Mary, instead of Joseph, the husband of Mary, because we're going to have Joseph, the husband of Mary, here in a few lines down the road, fulfills the bloodline from David all the way to Yahusha. Yahusha becomes the last legitimate king of Israel. He dies. When he dies, the kingdom is restored fully to Elohim, reversing the fiasco in Samuel, where the people said, we want a king. Samuel says, you don't want a king. Yahuwah says, dude, don't freak out. They're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. Give them a king. Look, there's a guy chasing donkeys. He'll be perfect. He's chasing donkeys. I'm not going to say anything else about donkeys. Okay. So now I come to the point of Leviticus 23:24. Becomes a very, 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 very important scripture midway into the feasts and festivals. I've got Passover. I make my promise. I have 50 days to make sure that I want to have that promise. I have Shavuot to receive the fullness of the Spirit. But now I come to a very, very important day, Vayikra, Leviticus 23:24, that says, speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall be a solemn rest to you, a memorial proclaimed with the blast of horns. Set apart convocation. So we all want to grab shofars and go out and blow them. The Talmud says that we need to blow them 100 times on Rosh Hashanah so that we can frighten off the Satan. It's hard to do that when your mouth is full of apples that you've dipped in honey and cream-filled cakes. But anyway, let's read this, what we like to call the right way, to get an understanding of why this is so important in light of what we've just considered. Okay? Speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month. Okay? It's the 7th month. The Torah calendar, it's the 7th month. It is not the 1st month. Rosh Hashanah is the 1st month of the year according to the civil calendar created by the rabbis. You have a civil calendar and you have a sacred calendar. Passover and Sukkot, if you don't understand this, Passover and Sukkot, well, they're in the same month. Because the 1st month of the sacred calendar is the 7th month of the, or is the 1st month of the civil calendar, or you just see how it gets confused. Is the 1st month of the civil calendar and the 7th month of the sacred calendar. It's confusing. Okay? But anyway, it shall be a solemn rest to you. Okay? So 7th month, if we say Shevi, 7th, from a root Shabbat that means to take an oath, something that deals with my oath has to occur here. Okay? On the 1st day of the month. The word for first in this verse is echad. To be in agreement with. So something about my oath needs to be in agreement with something. Shall be a solemn rest to you. Shall be a Shabbat is what it says. Not a Shabbat. It's not the 7th day Shabbat. This is a day of solemn rest. It's a day to stop. Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing because you need to focus on understanding what part of your agreement that you made, your promise that you made on Passover, that you've held up to this point, are you truly in agreement with it? Okay? A memorial. Okay? A memorial. The word is zikron. Zikron, yeah, it means memorial, but it means a reminder. Okay? So this day that you stop what you're doing to re-examine where you are, to re-examine where your loyalty lies, to re-examine if you truly are in agreement with the word of Elohim, are you truly in unity, you need to bring to mind some things. What do we bring to mind? Now we could say, oh, I'm going to bring to mind all this Torah stuff and all this Bible stuff because it's such a religious holiday. I have to bring to mind anything that will separate me from the Father. Anything that will separate me from my relationship with my Elohim. And if something that separates me or that interferes or has conflict with my relationship with anyone around me can cause that relationship with the Father to be hindered, I have to stop. Yeshua says, if you have a problem with someone and you're bringing a gift to the altar, bring your gift, leave your gift at the altar, but go fix it. Then present your gift. I cannot present myself fully to the Father if I have junk in my trunk. So here now is a day to stop, to look at myself and understand where I'm at, and to remind myself of what I have to do, because the next word is a memorial proclaimed with a blast of horns. Well, there we go. The word for blast of horns is teruah. Teruah means a shout of dedication, a shout of joy, a shout of distress. All right, so dedication, joy, and distress. What am I going to look at? What am I dedicated to? Where is my joy? And what is it that causes me distress? What is it that's causing problems in my relationship with anyone else, with myself, that is distressing my dedication to not only the life that I've been given, but my relationship to the Father, and is distressing my relationship with others? Okay? This has to be a set-apart convocation. Okay? Literally, it is Mikra Kodesh. Mikra Kodesh. Mikra, okay, meeting, assembly, but it also means dedicated time of study. Kodesh doesn't mean holy. Just remember, there's not really a word for holy in Hebrew. That's kind of a Greco-Roman idea that something is divine. That is set apart for the specific purpose of what? If that word is dedicated study, I have to stop and set myself apart on this day for a dedicated study. Okay? Of what? We have a in this Torah portion, the last Torah portion, Kitavo, that we talked about, Moses says, I place before you a blessing and a curse. Okay, and we get all excited about the blessing part. But what is the curse part? We have a word, kalala, that, okay, it means curse, but comes from a root kalal, that means consequences, but it also means minute things, small things, in what's the word I'm looking for? things that are not important. Inconsequential things. Okay. Now here's one. If I have this word kalal on Yom Teruah,